The story of the concubine of Gibeah.
Once there was a man from the tribe of Levi who lived in a region of Israel. One day he went to Bethlehem in Judah to visit his concubine, a woman who was not his wife, but lived with him in a relationship that was more than just an arrangement, but not quite marriage. While there, the concubine left him and returned to her father's house in Bethlehem. The man, feeling distressed over their separation, decided to go after her and bring her back. After a few days of traveling, he arrived at her father's house. The father was glad to see him and welcomed him with open arms, offering him food and shelter. They stayed several days, and each day the father insisted they stay longer, offering hospitality. Eventually, the man told his concubine that it was time to leave. They set out for home, traveling with their servant and their donkey. As the sun was setting, they reached a town called Gibeah, in the land of the tribe of Benjamin. They needed a place to stay for the night, but none of the locals offered them shelter. Finally, an old man who had come from the fields invited them into his home. But that night, something terrible happened. A mob of men from the town surrounded the house. They demanded that the old man send out the Levi so they could assault him. The old man tried to reason with them, offering his own daughter and the concubine instead, hoping to protect the Levi, but the mob refused. In a desperate attempt to save himself, the Levite took his concubine and pushed her outside, hoping that this would satisfy the mob. The men of the town brutally attacked her all night long, and by morning she was left beaten and broken at the door. When the Levite found her, she was dying. Grieving her death, the Levite took her body and in a shocking act of grief and anger, cut her into 12 pieces. He sent one piece to each of the 12 tribes of Israel with a message, asking for justice for the atrocity committed in Gibeah. This act stirred up the tribes of Israel, and they came together in anger. They demanded that the men of Gibeah be handed over for punishment. When the tribe of Benjamin refused to hand over the guilty men, the Israelites went to war against them. This led to a brutal civil war, where the tribe of Benjamin was almost wiped out. In the end, the conflict resulted in great loss of life, and the Israelites found themselves deeply affected by the violence and destruction caused by the initial wrong. The story is a tragic reflection of the chaos and lawlessness that existed in Israel at that time, when everyone did what was right in their own eyes.